All right, everybody. So make that 3 games in a row now where the Avalanche are really starting to look like the team that we have come to know and love. They win this one 4-1 over Calgary in Calgary for a team that's above them in the standings as far as the playoffs go. Another well-played game by the Avs. It wasn't without some issues maybe in the third, but overall, it's another game where you feel good about how the Avalanche are playing right now after that really bad stretch. So a lot to get to with this one. Another episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
Your Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making this your first listen of the day. That's always appreciated. You can follow us on our social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions to lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. And follow us on our YouTube channel. Over on YouTube, hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live. A lot to get to in today's episode. We'll be talking about the Avalanche 4-1 victory over the Calgary Flames. We have a sound check to get to, all that, and a Nazem Kadri 10-minute misconduct, which we both seem to have missed. Kyle's covering his ears over his headphones. So you want to hear it more? Is that what you're doing? You're pressing it.
That's how it works, right?
Yeah, I didn't notice that. I was just going over like the stats and stuff, and there it was. A Nazem Kadri 10-minute misconduct right at the end. It happened right. It was the same exact time as the Mikko Rantanen goal, which he was awarded on the empty netter that Nikita Zadorov impeded him, and because it's an empty net, they gave him the goal. And I put it up on Twitter, like, did I miss something here? And somebody posted, and it probably adds up, knowing Nazem Kadri. That play towards the end where he was kind of pushed to the ice by Mikko Rantanen, and Rantanen immediately threw his hands up in the air like, you're going to call that? Like, I feel like Rantanen thought he was only giving him a little bit of a nudge. But it wasn't until after the Rantanen goal where Kadri probably said a couple not so nice things to the ref, and he got a 10-minute misconduct. So
he probably got a misconduct for looking too good in that reverse retro Calgary Flames jersey.
He does not look good in any other jersey.
You're very correct. Very correct.
All right, man. So yeah, the Avs, it's 3 in a row. And now this is, if people wanted to say like, well, they got to win against Ottawa and then they got to win against Detroit, who's reeling a little bit, your real test or a test, not a real test. A test is going to be going into Calgary. Well, that box is checked, at least for now. And they played overall a good game. It wasn't, I guess it wasn't all, they weren't in command for the duration of the game because Calgary really turned it on in the third, and you knew that they would. They had to. They were down 3-0. They had to. They had no other choice. But I think the Avalanche, you saw the Avs really playing sound defense here. And couple that with really good goaltending by Georgiev. And I'm not going to say it's like a complete game, but it's pretty close to it because you got scoring, you got defense, and you got goaltending. And you got a power play goal as well.
When you said we got 3 in a row, we're going streaking.
Yes. Right to the
point. What this was it's a reverse of how they were playing last week and the week before. You know how it was just a slow first period and then you just try and scrape it together and try and make a case at the end? It was the reverse. They came out strong, and this is what we were talking about in yesterday's episode. This was the key to beating Calgary, was coming out strong, keeping the momentum going, and hold it throughout the game. They did for 50 of the 60 minutes of this game. That it really started getting really tight in that third period. And I think it was adrenaline, momentum, blending with the knowledge on defense that Cale Makar is not coming out here. We have to be on our game. He's not going to bail us out. I think that was a beautiful concoction that led to that first period and maintaining throughout the game.
Yeah, you mentioned the Cale Makar thing. He was kind of a late scratch, I guess.
Let the boy rest.
Yeah, sounds like he's day to day. It doesn't sound like it's anything serious, but Jared Bednar was kind of funny. Like when they asked him, is it someone, I don't know who it was, and I remember who posted, a couple people posted this, that they asked him, is it an upper body or a lower body? And his response was somewhere in there. So
he's tired of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the old you get nothing when it comes to injuries in the NHL. It's just you're not going to get, you'll get upper body, lower body. And when they throw both of them out there, you can just take your pick. Just it's almost like, just have a skeleton and throw a dart at it, and we'll say, yep, that's what it is.
That's it right there.
For the Avs, yeah, the third was, I think, challenging, and they were up to the task because, like I said, you knew the Flames were going to throw everything at them. And yeah, like you said, like a week ago, I think we've been watching that game with like a lot of concern, but I felt like their defense was holding up and giving, not that, I mean, Calgary was getting shots on net, but they were difficult shots.
Yeah.
I thought the Avs were getting in shooting lanes. They were making it difficult for them. They were not getting like, the Florida Panther game where those goals for Florida came at point blank range. They were forcing Calgary to take shots kind of like from outside the dots. They just made life difficult for them in that aspect. And Georgiev was great.
Yeah,
he was great. And you liked seeing that because you got those two good starts from Francouz. So now he's back. And if you got those two guys rolling and you got the defense playing better, that's Avalanche hockey. And then you can score some goals. Now you've got at least 4 goals in your last 3 games. Like that's you just feel like it's starting to turn, and it's more like what we're accustomed to in watching this team play. You didn't have the mindset of like, because there were times where Calgary was I want to say buzzing a little bit, but they were struggling to get those good shots. And you didn't have that feeling of like, while they're just cycling the puck around, like, okay, here comes a goal. A goal is coming for them.
Yeah.
You kind of had the feeling of like, Avs are sticking with them. Yeah, they'd struggle to clear the puck here, every once in a while, but they'd get right back on defense, get into their positions, and get a good stop.
And I think what they came out with in that first period, and they kind of carried it over a little bit in the second period, was utilizing the turnover. There was some really premium takeaways from like Nathan McKinnon, I know LOC, taking the puck away and not just gaining the possession, going the entire length of the ice with it and really building that pressure and making Calgary get cerebral with their approach. And if I told you right now, which this is fact, the Avs were outshot in this game, it didn't feel like it. It didn't feel like, especially with that first period, it felt like the Avalanche could do nothing wrong. And it felt like the second period they were maintaining. The third, you could kind of see where that stat is justified. But if you make Calgary, you don't give them any easy shots, and when they try and make something happen and you're taking it away, they really start playing the game in their head, and it makes it easier on you. I love the approach, wire to wire. And Georgiev was perfect, except for on the penalty kill. So 5-on-5, he's perfect. That's what you want.
Yeah. I thought, and I put this up on Twitter, like this was like the first time in a while where it looked like the speed of the Avalanche was getting to their opponent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they just, when you watch an Avalanche game, you're just blown away by just up and down the ice nonstop, rolling lines. And this is the first time in a handful of games where it genuinely felt like Calgary was struggling with the pace, and the Avs set that pace. And this the 3 goals that they got in the first, great. The second was just a track meet. It was wide open, and the Avs had some chances. I thought they got a little bit too cute again when they're up 3-0. With they had a couple breakaways. Calgary makes it difficult to have solid breakaways because they're really good at getting back. Even when you have a 2-on-1, they're really good at back checking. And I thought, there was one where Erod got a little bit too cute. Just throw the puck on net. Like you just need to keep peppering it. And I got to give Markstrom credit too, because I thought he was going to get yanked. You give up 3 goals in the first relatively quickly. But he kept them in there. He kept them in, and that's why Calgary is an improving team. Like, they got it off to a rough start, but they're holding a playoff spot right now, and you got to feel good if the Avs. Yeah, I thought the speed was something that got to them a little bit. Right.
And EJ even mentioned in an interview tonight that the team is feeling good. And they're feeling confident and they're buzzing. So if the team's feeling that way, you see a little bit of the too cute stuff, but it feels earned. Like from where earlier, a couple weeks ago, the too cute was them trying to get something going and create flash that way. The too cute now is because they're feeling good and they're like, let me see what I can do.
Yeah. I mean, every once in a while, I think that's just in hockey players' nature today, the way the game is played today. You're going to try to be a little bit flashy every once in a while. But overall, I think the Avalanche have kind of gotten rid of that. Let's try to make everything highlight reel.
Yeah.
Let's just throw pucks on net. Let's beat guys with our speed. Let's have good positioning on defense. Let's get back to basics. And were we not talking about that when it was not going well? And it seems like they have, at least for these 3 games. And look at the results.
Yep.
Results. So more to talk about with this game. We'll get into the stats, individual players, an interesting stat for the players that did score for this game. And then, of course, a sound check to get to. But first, we have betonline.net. It is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. You can get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there. From the NFL playoffs to NCAA basketball, which is in full swing, the NBA, and of course, the NHL. We've got it all at betonline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, who doesn't? You can even find those over at BetOnline as well. We are always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting info. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. That is betonline.net. And it's where the game starts. All right, so we'll get into kind of some stats here of the game. And like Kyle said, the Calgary did eventually outshoot the Avalanche. A lot of that is because the third period shots on goal was in favor of Calgary, 13-4. Avs only had 4 shots on goal in that third, where they had 14 in the first and 12 in the second. So, yeah, I mean, we've seen that lately with the Avalanche, where they're the team down in the third and they need to kick it up a notch. So that's kind of what happens for the team that's down. So Calgary outshot them 35-30. There's that pesky face-off percentage. It's not 45-55 this time. 44-56. So we got worse by 1 percentage, but we're still in that range. I'm just baffled.
I'm never going to. I'm just in my mind. It's one of those things we'll never be good at, and just get over it.
Just amazing how it's always that 45-55.
It can't be any closer.
It's crazy. For your power plays, Avalanche 1 for 3. I believe that's 3 games in a row now where they've scored at least 1 power play goal, while the Flames were 1 for 2. And the Flames have a good penalty kill. We talked about that yesterday, kind of prepping for this game, previewing this game. They do. They have a pretty good penalty kill. No, they have a good power play. Their penalty kill is a little bit to be desired. So, 1 for 2 for them on the power play. You see those 16 minutes. It's really 6. That Kadri one happened with less than a minute. The Kadri one happened, like I said, right after the Mikko Rantanen awarded goal. So there's less than a minute left with that. Not too much of a physical game. 12 hits for the Avs to 19 for Calgary. I don't know. I thought this was like kind of like an evenly matched game, and that no team was taking like cheap shots. I felt,
It
I don't
felt,
know.
even though there was a lot of like tension between like, I mean, there's rivalries and old bad blood and playoffs. Like it was a very respectful game.
Yeah.
All things considered, like it felt very respectful.
And for the Avalanche, the interesting stat, you have Nathan MacKinnon with 2 assists, JT Compher with 2 assists, Artturi Lehkonen 2 goals, which both came in the first period, Mikko Rantanen 2 goals and 1 assist, and Devon Taves with 2 assists. So every Avalanche player that got on the stat sheet had at least 2 points. There's no 1-point player for the Avs. And then Mikko Rantanen is the only one who had above 2 points with the 3. So that's pretty impressive.
It's a good night.
You had those last 2 games, you had 12 guys who scored, I think, in the Ottawa game. And then I think you had like 9 in the game against Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
And in this, you had way less than that. You only had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You only had 5 guys that scored, but they all had at least 2 points.
Yep.
So, and listen to those names that I said: MacKinnon, Compher, who's having a much improved year stats wise, mm-hmm. Lehkonen, Rantanen, Taves. Those are your stars.
And Nichushkin was out there.
He was, and we were a little bit concerned, and he played 22 minutes.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe it was just, his first game back.
He's taking the dude approach with his practice. He just abides.
You just give him those off days in between to not, to let it heal more, just not put too much pressure on it, I guess. I don't. We'll see tomorrow, or we'll see, or today.
No, don't say that. It'll be day to day again, and we'll just keep cycling them out.
Yeah. But having said that, the guys that score are mm-hmm. your scorers for this year, minus Nichushkin and Erod didn't get on it. Rodriguez still had 6 shots on goal. Nichushkin had 5 shots on goal. So those guys were creating, right? Yeah. And I thought like the depth for the Avalanche looked better. I thought I'm shocked at this right here, that Ben Myers only played 4 minutes and 46 seconds, because he was pretty noticeable to me when he was out there. So that's not a lot of ice time for him. He's not going to get Cale Makar ice time as it is, but he's usually higher than that. I thought he had some really good looking shifts. I really did. I thought he was in a good position. There was a couple times if there was another Avalanche player on a few different occasions that tried to get the puck to him where he was crashing towards the net, and it was just a good stick by the defender for Calgary. He put himself in good positions, and I saw that, and I'm like, 4 minutes? That was an entertaining 4 minutes for Ben Myers.
It's funny that you were thinking about that for Ben Myers. I was thinking of that for Bleed. He also had that same amount of time, and he felt like he was everywhere all game long.
Yeah, it's true.
It was. And I know Ben Myers, even though he played 4 minutes, I know he logged. He had that turnover. Like it was productive 4 minutes, even though he was part time tonight. So. It was an effective part time shift.
Yep. You had with Cale Makar out for the second straight game. You went to 11 forwards and 7 defensemen. So your top pairing was Taves and Erik Johnson. So Johnson played 22 minutes. And I thought, he's obviously a different type of player than Cale Makar is. So he's not going to be he's not fully taking the place of Cale Makar. He's not going to be quarterbacking the power play or anything like that. Taves slotted into that spot. But when it was 5-on-5, I feel like, while Erik Johnson is not asked to do as much as he once was, in a situation like this, you can go to him and tell him like, we need you to be the veteran that you are, and we're going to need some more ice time from you. And I feel like he just played he wasn't jumping off the screen. He was just, I thought Erik Johnson played one of his better games of the season, and he did next to nothing, which is a good thing. He didn't overcommit. He was good position wise. He had a couple chances offensively, and that's going to happen when you're on a top pairing and a top lines out there. And I thought he needed to fill some big shoes, and I thought he did it admirably.
And this was his 900th game.
Yes, it was. Yep.
So you see some of that veteran just experience and know-how with how he handled being on that top pairing. He just kind of sunk into the essentials, the basics. He didn't try and do too much. He did exactly what he did for 899 games before.
Yep. Absolutely. And yeah, his 900th game, and we can't discount Mikko Rantanen. His first goal was his 30th of the season, and he is the fastest in franchise history to get to 30 goals in a season. He beat Joe Sakic by 1 game. So, just and this is his 3rd consecutive 30-goal season, and we're at the halfway mark. So, Mikko just continues to.
McKinnon, who?
Easy. Do we need to make a trade McKinnon sign and just bring that to the game?
Trade him.
Come on, people. Be better than that. If you know what we're talking about, you know what we're talking about.
This is a 30-minute show. Don't get me started.
Yeah. All right. Let's hear from Built Bar, and then a little bit more things to wrap up here, including our sound check. And because this is a trip up north, Kyle's going to have a theme going for his sound checks. This is day 1 of the Kyle theme. But first, Built Bar. You're looking for a delicious treat, but don't want all of the fat and calories, then you have got to try Built Bar. Which one? Is that a raspberry one you have?
It is. I had 2. I used one the other night, and I ate it while we were done.
both raspberry, or are they different?
Yes.
Different. Yeah. And I've said it before, like raspberry flavor to me sometimes is hit or miss, especially chocolate raspberry. Built Bar nailed it with that chocolate. It's honestly one of my favorite ones.
I put it in my coffee, and during the holidays, I would
just let it melt.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah. So, and we're talking about the holidays. We just got through them, and a lot of people will come up with their New Year's resolutions to eat a little bit healthier. Include Built Bar in that plan. It's healthy for you. It actually tastes good, and it's covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right. 100% real chocolate. And they come in unbelievably delicious flavors like a churro puff, the peanut butter brownie, the coconut almond. They have a mint brownie one, which is fantastic. You can go to built.com, and they're constantly coming out with new and limited edition flavors. So go check them out. And if you don't want to go to built.com and buy them, you can now buy them in store at places like Sam's Club and Walmart. As soon as you walk in the door, they're right there.
Yep.
So no longer do you have to order them online. What are you going to say?
Oh, no, you must do it.
Yeah, you have to.
We're not just suggesting. You must.
You must. You have to. So
it'll change your life. I used to have blonde hair before I ate Built Bar.
Like we said, they're good for you. Only 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, and a whopping 17 grams of protein. So go to built.com or head to your nearest Walmart or Sam's Club to pick up the delicious Built Bar. Make it part of your New Year's resolution and your New Year's healthy eating routine. All right, sir. Where else we got for this game? We talked about Georgiev, and I think we really should kind of bring it back around to him, because this could have gone south. I go back to that when the Avalanche were not playing well, and he slammed the stick down on the crossbar.
Yeah.
That to me was one of the low points. Maybe the lowest of the low was the loss to Chicago, but an individual low point when you could really tell it was getting to the Avs was that moment. And he needed to have a good game. You knew that he was going to play it. We didn't know if they were going to keep riding with Frankie, but you knew at some point Georgiev was going to get a start relatively soon, because they have a back-to-back coming this weekend, right? So he gets the start today. And like I said earlier, to have both of these guys feeling really good, your back to that spot where it's like, I know it's only one game for Georgiev that that he's played, but he played really, really well against a really, really good team. So you are back to feeling good from top to bottom with everything that this team is doing right now over the course of these last 3 games, goaltending included.
I think this was mutually beneficial for both Georgiev and the Avs. The Avs needed this kind of performance out of him, and he needed one of these performances to be confident in these back-to-back situations with the schedule going forward. He needed to get his groove back, and he absolutely did. This could have been one of those that I was sitting there, the more the game went on, I was like, I want that shutout, and then I want Frankie and Georgie both to have one while we're putting everything together, and then have this conversation forever. Like, really split the fan base. Like, who's your 1A goalie? But I mean, you can't ask for more out of a goalie, and now we have 2. So this is what you need.
Yeah, they're both feeling good. Georgiev's got to feel good. Obviously, Frankie's feeling really good. And like I said, like, you're starting to score, which I that was even going through the rough patch. Like, you always knew that, okay, like, this team is too talented to continue to struggle to score. You knew that would come around. But you needed the other things to fall in line, and they're just all falling in line at the same time. Yep. They're finally scoring goals. They're getting great goaltending, and they're playing better defense. Now, they're still allowing shots on goal. You don't want to allow 35 shots on goal. You don't want to do that. But like we said, like, the shots that they were giving up to Calgary, they were difficult. I kind of want to check Money Puck really quick to see how many high danger shots they had.
And you also have to take into account while you're looking at what those high danger shots are. This is with the absence of Cale Makar. So it's an adjustment. The defense had to adjust. Yep. Those numbers would look a little different with Cale Makar in there.
2 high danger shots. I'll live with that every single game. You know what I mean? So that's what you want to see. I want to look up in comparison. I always want to, give the Avs their due if they have a lot on the other.
That's 2 high danger shots, even with that onslaught that they were concocting in the third period. That's still really good. And that also speaks to where the forwards are and covering for defense and actually getting back and playing defense. Like, you saw Nathan McKinnon in his back check. I almost wanted like that to be framed. Nathan McKinnon in a stellar back check. When was the last time I got to see this?
Yeah.
So it's good to see everybody contributing to the defense.
Sure is. For the Avs, they had 2 high danger shots of their own. But both of those went in. Which one went in for Calgary? Calgary's 1 goal was on a low danger shot, which you don't want to let those in either. But sorry. So overall, good stuff. If this game was played a week ago and the Avs were up, it would have went a different way. I'm not saying the Avs would have lost it, but it maybe would have been pushed to overtime because they were just giving up shots and goals that they typically didn't. And they were shutting that down. So you got to feel good.
And this is that type of game. Like, if this happened before the 7-0 in the Detroit game, like, if this is what we were talking about, like, if the Avalanche started winning this way, this slow build, it would have still had so many questions. And you don't want this to be where things are trending. It really puts some stakes on the Vancouver game. Like, you pass this big test. Yes, it's Calgary, but that makes me focus even more on this Vancouver game because what do the Avs do best is play down. We've been talking about Chicago a couple times. Like, okay, we had a little bit of a lull because of that third period. Now what does Vancouver's first period look like? And can we continue this throughout and on a back-to-back? Like, I'm really looking forward to the weekend.
Well, the Avs have put themselves in a position or a situation because they had that bad stretch where, you've played well for 3 games, but we're not that far removed from it.
Yeah.
So even though you're going into Vancouver on a nice 3-game winning streak, playing 3 good games, you're like, okay, well, the last time you played Vancouver wasn't good.
Yeah.
So you have to play better that time. Like, so they put themselves in a position where it's weird. Like you're
We
happy
trust
with how
no
they're
one.
playing. Yeah. Yeah. Like you're happy with how they're playing, but you're still in prove it mode.
Yeah.
Like you just said, like, okay, you can't have these 3 games that you just played and then go into Vancouver and play down to that level.
Yep.
You can't do that. And until the Avs prove consistency, and you're not getting that, like you've gotten it for 3 games, but now you need to keep doing, and that's just the position that they put themselves in. And from the fan base to themselves, they have to keep doing this. And if you lose, but you play well, I can live with that. But they didn't play well again. They played horrible against Vancouver last time, just like they played horrible against Chicago. You can't have those games. So while a 3-game winning streak is good, you got to go into Vancouver and do exactly what you did to like Ottawa to Vancouver. And that'll close even a little bit more mouths as we go along. You know what I mean?
And Vancouver is that type of team that if you play well, you're not going to lose.
Yeah, exactly. Right. All right, last thing to get to here is our Locked On Avalanche sound check. Kyle and I pick one song each where we that we feel best summarizes the most recent game. These songs go up on a playlist over on Spotify. Just search for LOA sound check. This is volume number 2. So what do you got for this one, sir?
You mentioned a theme.
Yes.
This is the first of my Canadian theme. We're on a Canadian road trip. Look, I'm living in Pennsylvania. I was born and raised in Alabama, but my soul, it belongs in Canada with my people.
Right.
That's why this song from one of my favorite Canadian bands, Bare Naked Ladies, 1 week. Because 1 week ago, this streak would have been laughable. Like we were struggling to find any kind of positive narrative coming out of the Chicago game. 1 week later, this is Avalanche hockey, baby. Let's get the burgundy and blue on. Let's go. Like we have something to cheer about. We're right there, not too far out of the playoffs. Like we are like 2 points behind Calgary right now. Like we got this. Like we're back in it, baby. Let's go.
It's amazing what can happen in a week, right? Yeah, you're 2 point. You're right. 2 points behind Calgary,
and
with games in hand too.
San Jose just beat Dallas 5-3.
That's a bad loss.
So
that's a really bad loss.
We talked about that ladder that's up there. We're not that far away.
Is that in regulation too?
Yeah, I think so.
Let me see here.
Yep.
Yes, it is.
San Jose took 2 in the third period.
Yes, it is. Wow. Great. All right. That helps. All that stuff helps. For me, I get kind of a little play on your opponent. What happens when you extinguish a flame? What are you left with?
Smoke and ash.
Ash. And
Pokemon theme song.
That's well, I went with Rage Against the Machine's Ashes in the Fall. From one of my favorite albums ever, The Battle of Los Angeles. I went dating myself here, sir. I got that album at a Midnight Madness sale. Now,
that's what
for
I'm
all
talking
you
about.
Youngsters out there who don't know what that is, that's back in the day. Albums came out on Tuesdays, not on Fridays like they do now. We were the only all the other countries' albums came out on Fridays. We were the only one that came out on Tuesday.
Yep.
And I there was a CD store around here called Media Play, and they had midnight sales, and you would go there. They'd open up at like 11:30. So you'd go there, you'd carry the CD around for 45 minutes, but you could not check out until midnight. It was illegal for them to check out the CD. So that album I got at a Midnight Madness sale, and I listened to it on the way home, and I think I skipped school the next day because my ride home was like a 15-minute ride. And that album it blew me away. I'm like, I don't want to go to school right now. I just want to listen to this album all day. That's such a good album.
Yeah, that's crazy you bring up that album. I like 2 weeks ago, I almost bought like a 3D picture of that album cover.
Like the album cover?
It's iconic.
Oh, it's so good.
I saw it was like 3-dimensional. It was like made out of wood. almost bought it like
Really?
to treat myself, but I did not.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah. So go check those out over on Spotify. They'll be up on there as soon as we end this recording. I'll put them up there now. So, but that's going to be it for today, everybody. We will be back likely tomorrow with our final show of the week. Anything else going on in Avalanche land, we will be talking about it right here. So until then, thank you for making this your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. Comment away over on YouTube. And we're always engaged with you guys over there. So, or follow us on the other socials as well. For Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan, I am Chris Maselli, and this is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We'll see you guys later.